You're listening to Al Pastor, the show that helps you love God, love your neighbor, and eat more tacos. I'm your host, Pastor Brian. Welcome to the show. Well, hello. Thank you for tuning in for episode 15. And today our Bible reading is Hebrews chapter 9, verses 23 through 10:10. And I happen to have a very special guest with us in studio today. Do you want me to introduce or do you want to say hi?
Hi, everyone. Thank you for having me back.
Well, I'm glad that you're back. I'm calling you the Al Pastor Whisperer.
Why is that?
Because you can kind of help keep me in line. And then if I want to go off like on what I call some theological indulgences, you can say, stop it, slow down, say what you mean, because a lot of times I can become disconnected from,
I see.
The people.
Well, for the record, I always keep you in line.
Yeah, that's what you think.
Anyway.
So let's get right into the program. We'll talk about some verses.
Wait. What about your taco?
We
have to talk about your taco.
What about my taco?
Well, I knew that was your favorite taco. And
you thought you knew. You didn't know for sure.
Of course I knew. And you forgot to mention one of the steps. Actually, one of the most important steps in making your tacos. You have to get the tortilla kind of like soaking up the juices and the grease from the meat. So that's the first step and the most important step in making my tacos. So your taco.
I'm getting hungry now.
So anyway, yeah, you got to do that. You cook your meat and then you get your tortillas. So you're kind of going to wipe the bottom of the pan with your tacos. The taqueros, they do that too. So, some tacos, some of them.
Well, no, I really do appreciate when you do that because it adds just another dimension of flavor.
Yeah.
So one of the things that I couldn't describe on my taco is how you season the meat. So do you want to tell everybody at home how you do that?
No, that's chef's secret. Maybe I will if they come up to me and say, what's your season? It's actually very simple, but anyway.
Well, spill the beans.
Okay, I'll tell them. So it has to be, the way we do it. And I'll tell you right away, the quality of the meat matters. It truly does matter. So we like to use the meat from Costco. They call flat meat, but it's kind of like, I don't know.
I don't know what that is. Is it flank steak? Flat meat? What is it?
It's like a flank steak, yeah. But they call it flap meat. Okay. I don't know why. But anyway, that one or...
Ranchetta.
Yes, ranchetta. Or sometimes I even use like a ribeye or New York. Like a leftover one, of course. Well, I've made tacos with that too. So anyway, I like to season with... Okay, there goes my seasoning. It's just salt, pepper, deliberately, okay? Season your meat. And then garlic powder, onion powder, and cumin. And chili powder. That's it. Sometimes, and that is going to give that taco flavor. Sometimes I don't want that taco flavor. So I just do salt and pepper, garlic, and onion. And to me, that's my favorite.
Now, I need to give this disclaimer because although your tacos are my favorite, it's seasonal as well. Like I can be like, I'm craving this type of taco, right? Like
sometimes I make shrimp.
Oh, that's
taco.
That's a good one.
Yeah. Actually, not even the shrimp taco that you're thinking, like breaded.
Deep fried.
No, it's not like that. Yeah. I make my tacos different, but hey, he likes it.
Well, do you want to tell them what I had for breakfast?
Oh my goodness. You had breakfast tacos. This man. Yeah, but it was eggs, bacon, salsa, cheese. He could eat that stuff every day. I can't. I'm more like a simple pastry breakfast type of person.
Well, congrats for being my favorite taco.
I'm your favorite taco?
Well, you make my favorite taco is what I mean. So thank you. This is for you.
I'm flattered.
All right, we better get into the reading for today. Now, this reading is on a Sunday, so we're actually going to make this really, really kind of light. So we're only going to just cover 2 verses. Obviously, we can do a lot more anytime we want to. But what I want to cover is Hebrews 10, 26, 27, and 28. So there's a few things in there. So let me go ahead and read it, and then we'll jump right into it. It says, he, referring to Jesus, then would have to suffer often since the foundation of the world. But now, once, at the end of the ages, he has appeared to put away sin by the sacrifice of himself. Verse 27, and it's appointed for men to die once, but after this, the judgment. So Christ was offered once to bear the sins of many. To those who eagerly wait for him, he will appear a second time, apart from sin, for salvation. So I have some things in my head, Marcia, that I think that could be a little confusing to people. Do you have anything in here, right? Introductory comments?
Yeah, verse 27. Before I became a Christian, I used to believe that I had a previous life.
Oh, and, wow. I didn't even know this.
Yeah.
So I thought I knew you.
We would like joke around with family and friends. Oh, in my past life, I was this. But
wait. Did you really believe that?
Yes. I totally believed it. I used to think that I was born into some like cold country because I absolutely despise the heat, being hot.
Well, that's logical. Okay.
So anyway, and then I knew that in my next life, I would wish to be different. I would wish to be, I don't know, gorgeous and rich and famous, silly stuff. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is like when I came to know Jesus, knowing that man will die once and after that judgment will come, it's like a very almost like a scary thing. It's like a wake up thing. Like live your life as you should, honoring God, knowing that after that you will be judged.
Okay, so here's a couple of my questions. Like, how old were you
when I used to think? Wait, what?
Yeah, when you used to think that. How old were you when you got to say 15?
I got 15,
right?
So up until then, yeah.
I'm just curious though, where you got this idea. Did you learn it in school?
That is another thing, because as we read in this verse here, and it is appointed for men to die once, it makes me think, what was the writer thinking? Where did this idea come from? Like, why did he feel the need to say that it is appointed for men to die once? So this notion has to come from somewhere. I don't know the answer to that, but I can tell you that even as a child and a teenager, I used to think that I had a previous life.
Well, I definitely don't want to open a can of worms on this, but I can tell you, you actually brought up a really good question that I hadn't thought about, because you just said, why would he say it like this? And I don't know if this is the reason, but I do know in Judaism, there is an idea of reincarnation.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly what I thought.
But it's not like a dominant thought, but it very well could be. And the reason is this actually comes from, do you remember when they were asking Jesus, like, who do men say that I am? Some say you're Elijah, Elias, some say you're Jeremiah, but who do you say? Why would people say, well, this is Elias, this is Jeremiah, right?
Good question.
There was an idea of that. And I'm not sure if that's why. I don't think it is, but I would have to study that out. So I'm going to make myself a little mental note.
We should.
And I'll go into that. So once you got saved, did that idea of reincarnation just vanish?
Yeah, pretty much. I just never thought about it because I got so submerged into God's word and, Christianity and serving.
Okay. So let's talk about the judgment aspect of this. So it says, after this, the judgment. Now, I think a lot of people sometimes can get confused about this. So tell me what you think. Like, what kind of judgment?
Well, we will all be judged, Christians and non-Christians.
Correct.
It's just a different type of judgment. So whether you're Christian or not, you will face judgment. Mm-hmm. So we just better hope and pray that We are going to be on the good judgment room, not the
yes.
bad one.
So in the Bible, there are actually two judgment seats. We have one that's called the Bema, and then there's one called the Great White Throne Judgment. So the judgment is everyone will face judgment. It just depends on what kind. So for a believer, your judgment is not heaven or hell. Your judgment is based on your rewards.
Mm-hmm.
Now the Great White Throne Judgment. Now that's the bad one. We will not. We're not subjected to that particular judgment. So I want to make sure we clear that up. And then we have verse 28. Christ was offered to bear the sins of many. I like this last part, and it is to those who eagerly wait for him. I think that this is a key. And what it meant for them was these good folks needed to endure all the way. Like this idea, especially in New Testament Christianity, is the conception of enduring, suffering well for Jesus, enduring persecution, hardships, trials, tribulations, famine, pestilence, dying by the sword. So these folks are eagerly waiting, and it's like, where are you, Jesus? So imagine them. Like, I'm not trying to diminish anything that we go through, but we are snowflakes, aren't we? Like in this century.
Yeah,
I try to say that with a grain of salt.
No, I'm usually hard on you when you say things, but I agree. We have become like entitled that we are expecting every day for life to be easy, just, a sea of roses, like that nothing bad will happen. And when something bad does happen, the first thing that us as human, we tend to, but why, God, is this happening to me?
Yeah.
Why me?
And there's some legitimate, there are, like,
yes.
especially when there's unexpected sickness or death or, those things. So we're not, that's not the idea, but in general, I'm making very general statements here.
But I do want to say, why not me? Why not? Why not me going through? Because I think we talked in the last time that I was here with you in the podcast, we talked about spiritual maturity, how being mature spiritually will dictate how you face life, how you face your trials and tribulation. You talked about sickness. Well, if you are mature and rooted and grounded in the Lord and his word, you know that your suffering here on earth will pass, and in hopes that it will bring glory to God.
Of course.
That you will have a testimony to share of his goodness.
So there's the we would say that is the redemptive nature of suffering. And it is participating. You are a participant as well. Count it all joy, brethren, when you fall.
Yes.
Right? You are a participant in the sufferings of Christ. But for these folks right here, okay, I've said this over and over and over again. The audience is in danger of leaving Jesus because pressure from the outside, from friends, family, sufferings. And he's saying you need to eagerly wait. I want to look at that word. Let's look at the word eagerly here. And I wanted to see if it is the normal word for eagerly. And look, receive, welcome, accept, look forward to. Okay. So isn't that the hard part, is the waiting? The waiting?
Yes. And be expected to wait eagerly.
Yeah. And I mean, I can't even say for our century, like, let's look, for instance, we were in Brazil, whether it's Brazil, Africa, the Middle East, the way some of these Christians are suffering right now. I mean, just look at some of the country folks out in Brazil, like simple lives, but they go through hardship, right? They're waiting for Jesus to come back. Yeah. I mean, that's like their only hope.
Yeah.
I mean, imagine putting all your eggs in one basket and you're like, man? So this is, he's like, hey, wait, be patient. Jesus will appear. And then it says, apart from sin, but for salvation. So this part is also interesting because I have a feeling some folks might say, not everybody, but perhaps, like, why would he appear for salvation? Don't I have salvation already?
Yeah, that is an interesting question.
And so this thought, this conception of salvation is twofold, right? It is we receive our salvation now, we're born again, and then in the future we will be saved. So we would say we're saved, we're being saved, and one day we will be saved. And your salvation is not fully realized or obtained until you cross the finish line. That's why Paul says, for one thing I do, I consider myself as not as apprehended the goal. Like he's like, I'm not there yet. Mm-hmm. Forgetting what's behind and pressing towards the goal. Once you cross that finish line, that's when you receive fully your salvation. When you look into the eyes of Jesus and he says, well done, good and faithful servant. So this is what he's having them wait for. So these are some good thoughts. I will go through and we'll look at this and let's make a deal. If there is anything here, I will share the discovery and you and I will talk about it. If it's worthy. Like,
I see.
Like if it does have to do with anything reincarnation, but I don't think it does.
Mm-hmm. Well, I want to ask you this question. Maybe someone at home has this question too. Still on the, wait. That it is appointed for man to die once, but after this, the judgment. So we know that we are going to live and we're going to die and we're going to be judged. Correct.
Unless you go up in the rapture.
True. That's my hope. I used to say that too. Like, anyway, I would say, over this body that the ground will not eat. Whatever. That was weird.
That makes a lot of sense.
That is a Brazilian. That was so weird. That is a Brazilian saying. It does not make sense in English. Yeah, that. Anyway. My question was, because I believe we all have loved ones or even friends that have passed and they did not know the Lord. Mm-hmm. And because we know the Bible tells us that there is judgment, it's like, how do we deal with the knowledge, with the thought that someone that we loved dearly passed away without the Lord and knowing that judgment will come? Because, I mean, there's nothing that can be done, but it's a very, like, I don't know, like sad thought to think that way.
Well, boy, I'm trying to think of the nicest way to answer
I guess
this.
The question is like,
here's the bottom line, without trying to dismiss that question, because that is a valid question. We just have to know that God is just and righteous. And once we get into heaven, we will have full understanding. So,
that was actually a good question. Answer.
I mean,
it is. It's comforting to know that, knowing that whatever happened, God is just.
And here's the other thing. Yes, we can there's two sides of the coin. Like, let's say you know somebody that really loved Jesus, though that's easy, right? Like, they're in heaven. Like, we have no problem with that. But when somebody lives a life outside of Christ, that one is just like.
I know, but what about those?
And everybody thinks that everybody goes to heaven. You know,
I know. And then what about those that did not live their lives for Jesus, but they were good people?
Oh, well.
That is like even the harder one. So anyway. But
we know biblically that it doesn't matter what you do.
True.
So, all right. Well, let me say this before we end. I'm really glad because I wasn't canceled for being misogynistic, because I'd said you broke a record. So I'm wondering if you broke a record today, again, for the longest podcast. It's you. You know that, right?
Then don't invite me.
No. I want you to do more. I really do. But I also want other people. So I got to hurry up and figure this whole studio thing out. So any closing remarks?
No. Again, thanks for having me.
All right, folks. Well, thank you for tuning in today, and we'll see you on the next one. I got to find the right button here. There it is. Thank you for listening to Al Pastor with Brian Overturf. If you found value in this, please subscribe and get updates. Most places podcasts are available. We're right here on Anchor FM through Spotify, also on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, Amazon, and iHeartRadio. I hope you'll tune in for the next episode. Until then, we'll see you later.